Let us take a topic on public administration. Frederick Taylor. He was born in Pennsylvania in 1856. He is considered as father of scientific management. He worked as an apprentice at the Enterprise Hydraulic Works, at Midway Steel Company, and at Benthlehem Steel Company. The major works of Taylor include a piece rate system, shop management, the art of cutting metals, and the principles of scientific management. Taylor was unhappy with the existing industrial organizations where the role and responsibility of the workers and management was not clear. He was searching for answers. Taylor conducted experiments and concluded that there is one best way of doing work which will bring prosperity to both employee and employers. He thus gave proper shape to the concept of scientific management, which was coined by Louis Brandeis. Therefore, scientific management is also known as Taylorism. Principles of scientific management. First point, science, not rule of thumb. Rule of thumb means decisions taken by the manager only. This rule of thumb should be replaced with scientific methods to improve the efficiency of the organization. The efficiency of the organization can be improved by observing and analyzing the work process. This observation will help to develop a science for each element of a man's work. Thus, one best way of doing work can be developed. For example, worker carried 4 gas cylinders on a bicycle. To improve his efficiency of delivering gas cylinders, his bicycle was fitted with a cart, which enabled more gas cylinders to be loaded. Second, selection and training of the workers. The selection of the worker need to be done scientifically. That is, having proper physical and intellectual qualities. Every worker has potentialities for development. The potentialities for development of the worker must be trained in accordance with scientific principles. To develop workers' full potentiality is the duty of the management. Please note, in the past, the management appointed a person who became a worker of the organization, chose his work in the organization and trained himself. The management introduces new methods to do work in a better way. The employees must accept the new methods and conditions willingly so that the company grows. For example, assembly of air coolers. Workers carried half-assembled air coolers to different rooms for its completion. But today the management introduced new technique, that is the use of trolley, through which it moves to different rooms for assembly. Third, cooperation between management and workers. It is the responsibility of the management to bring the scientifically selected and trained men to perform the work in a scientific manner. Workers and management are the two pillars who must cooperate and coordinate to bring prosperity for the company. Workers are willing to cooperate, but there is opposition from the management. The change in the attitude of both, that is workers and management, will result in mental revolution. Fourth, division of work and responsibility. In the past, the worker had a bigger responsibility. That is, he bore the entire responsibility for the work, while the management had lesser responsibility. Taylor believed in equal responsibility between workers and management. This division of work and responsibility will create better coordination and understanding between the worker and the management, and will result in elimination of conflict. Techniques. Taylor put forward techniques to achieve the principles of scientific management. First point, functional foremanship. Taylor put forward the concept of functional foremanship, under which a worker was supervised by 8 specialized supervisors. Out of the 8 supervisors, 4 were responsible for planning and the other 4 were responsible for execution. Thus, functional foremanship facilitated specialization and separates planning from execution. Second, motion study. It is a technique of standardization of work methods. That is, work needs to be carried through a particular process. The work process of workers and machines are observed, and the best way to do work is determined. Third, time study. It is a technique to determine the standard time for completion of work. It follows the motion study. Stopwatch is essential. For example, workers in a factory were shifting cans from the first floor to the ground floor by passing it to the other workers. The time and motion of work was observed, and it was noticed that more workers and more time was taken for shifting the cans. To reduce the number of workers and time, a plank was placed and workers were asked to roll the cans from the first to the ground floor. Fourth, method study. It is a technique to procure raw materials at a low cost, which helps to keep the cost of production low, maintains quality of product, and keeps customers satisfied. Fifth, piece rate wage system. Taylor suggested pay by piece rates on the basis of standards set by motion and time study. Workers who were able to produce standard units within a given duration would receive payment as per the high wage rate, and the workers who fail to produce standard units within the given time would receive low wage rates. For example, the standard output for a day is 25 brooms. The wage rate was 5 per unit and 7 per unit. Meera produced 25 brooms in a day, so she earned rupees 175 because she met the standard output. But on the other hand, Sonam produced 20 brooms in a day, and so she earned only 100 rupees because she had not met the standard output. Payment is based on efficiency, and therefore workers must be motivated to increase their efficiency, which will not only benefit the workers but also the organization. Sixth point, standardization of tools. Standardization of tools will establish efficiency in all aspects of production, that is, standardization of raw materials, tools or equipments, methods applied at work which will assist in the smooth process of production. Apart from this, good working condition such as ventilation, rest periods, hygiene, etc. should be provided to the workers. All of them were absent in the past, which Taylor wanted to change. That is, he wanted the management to provide tools to its workers. Criticism. First point, exploitation of workers. Scientific management put pressure on the employees to work faster. This increased production and profit, no doubt, but it led to the exploitation of workers. Second point, workers divided. Taylor advocated piece rate wage system instead of uniform wage system, which affected the unity among workers and in turn destroyed the collective bargaining capacity of the workers. Third, mechanical approach. Scientific management was concerned with mechanical aspects and not with human aspects of production. It treated workers as a machine and wanted workers to be as efficient as a machine. Fourth, managers unhappy. Taylor's criticism of a rule of thumb was not appreciated by the managers. The division of work increased the responsibility of the managers, which earlier was done by the workers. The post of the manager was eligible for educated, trained people, And so people who wanted quick promotions without merit were unhappy with scientific management. Fifth point, no role of trade unions. The trade unions had no role to play because the mental revolution advocated by Taylor changed the attitude and resolved the disputes between management and workers. Sixth, many bosses. As per the principle of functional foremanship, the workers had to report to 8 bosses. As a result, there was no unity of command, which in turn created confusion in the organization. Seventh, assumption wrong. It is assumed that workers are motivated by material rewards, but in reality, workers may be motivated by social and psychological aspects. Conclusion. Scientific management, according to Taylor, involves mental revolution, that is, complete change in the attitude and outlook of workers and the management. Thus, mental revolution is necessary on part of both workers and managers because their interests are not contradictory and both can prosper through cooperation and not conflict.